Hey everyone, my name is Christian and I'm a mix engineer. We've got another mix breakdown for you today and it's Waves by however you say this band name. Sorry. Let's dive in. Okay, you want a masterclass in producing? It's this whole album, okay? It's just genius all across the board. These guys are so good. It's genuinely one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on, and I just felt like I wanted to break down one of their mixes. Honestly, I could do like a full mix breakdown on the whole album, but this one particularly just felt like it was more upbeat and more kind of interesting to dive into. So let's do that today. Let's dive into the drums real quick. There's a lot of stuff going on in the drums here, and I'll kind of just go one by one so you can see what's going on, but here's kick. There's a kick top, which is like the tick. Here's a kick, which I'm learning in real time. I mislabeled. It's not a kick. Like a smashed thing. Snare. Second snare. Clap. Hats. Like crash loop thing here. And then there's like super wide distorted drums. All the drums have, my kind of go-to, this transient shaper here just for more attack. And then some like light EQ stuff kind of all across the board. So the snare has a high pass, the claps have a high pass, high pass, high pass, high pass, high pass, high pass. Everything in your life, high pass. And then this multi-band thing that is my favorite kind of drum bus plugin here. It's not really doing a whole lot. It's just really more for volume control. Just a little bit of glue, volume control, stuff like that. So let's. Here's the bass. Here's my favorite tape machine. One of my favorite saturation plugins, just in general, is the virtual tape machine from Slate. It's got such a unique characteristic. It really kind of beautifully warms up the low end. Just watch out because the volume it boosts it like 3 to 4 dB, just like on a. Like if you throw an instance right on it, which is basically what I did here. I just wanted like that richness to come out, but also be careful because it can like kind of grit up the low end a little too much too if you don't use it correctly. But I knew exactly what was going to happen when I threw this on, and it did just kind of rounded out that low end really nicely. So here. And honestly, you're probably not going to hear a whole lot of a difference. Like I honestly can't. I remember hearing this in my studio though with like an actual sub, and there's a huge difference. But off a phone, if you're probably watching this off a phone or laptop, that AB is not going to do anything for you. Here's the perk stuff: impacts, tambos, shakers, kind of the usual perk stuff. And same thing, it's all just like different levels of high pass. Oftentimes in like perk and anything that's not a kick or bass 808, there's just like on the claps, like you know what I mean? Like there's, but there's that low end underneath it that just eliminate. If you high pass almost everything and like did nothing else on a mix, that would make a pretty large difference. Do this experiment. If you high passed everything on a mix except a kick and a bass, you're gonna hear a huge difference just in general. Like just watch how that cleans up your entire mix. And this is the point: is like there's all this clap low end stuff. Like there's like that. It's like ooh. And over time, like you add a ton of claps, a ton of snares, a ton of hat stuff, all that low end just accumulates and it muddies up the low end of your mix. So that's why I hit high passes so hard. Anyways, let's move on. Again, when you have killer production like this, you don't need a whole lot of treatment. You just need volume control. And so like you can hear all the stuff here going on. Like all these pads are incredible. They fill up the whole sonic spectrum. They're all chosen individually into a place where like some have a little bit more high end than the others, some are doing the low mid stuff. Like they just fill up the entire spectrum so intentionally, it's unbelievable. Now, if you watched my reel or my short when I dove into like cellos and string stuff, you can see that that's probably the most kind of treatment I did here and all these keys things. I mean, a little bit of piano stuff. You can see cellos have a lot more treatment than the other stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm EQing it, obviously high passing, and then doing some like 400 dip to kind of remove that honk in the cello. And that's on all of them too, just different honks, kind of depending on where the range is. And then I'm saturating it really hard. And what this does is it provides a grit on a cello. Like the cello already has that warmth, but then there's also that zzz from the bow. The saturation emphasizes that in a really healthy way, in my opinion. And so that's why I saturate it so hard. And then even on fresh air, I want some of that bow attack. If it's not a cello on its own, like this really helps the cello stand out. And so you can hear, I'll A/B these so you can see exactly what this treatment is doing. And on its own, sometimes if you drive the cello, it can feel too hard. It can feel a little gritty. That's okay. In a song like this, when there's like other pads and stuff going on like this, it still sounds like a cello, you know what I mean? Now, the vocal's super unique on this one, so it's not like the typical kind of raw vocal. They had a lot of treatment on these already. So again, it was just a matter of like EQing them, painting them, shaping them in a way that fit everything overall into a mix.
I'm not okay. I've been staring through the window at the waves, and I wish I could see the light of day.
All kinds of crazy stuff going on. So like I have my normal plugins that I like to use, like the EQ for this first EQ for shape, but then you can see like I don't have any like first compressor or any kind of tonal stuff. It's just this hefty compressor and a saturator to just kind of let it stand out.
I'm not okay.
But it's not even working as hard as it normally does.
I've been staring through the window at the waves.
And same thing for the rest of these two. Like they're just super minimal. See, I'm not even using this. You can get rid of that. It's just light EQ stuff. You know, minimal compression, minimal saturation, a little bit of fresh air on this one just so it could stand out on top of the other lead vocal. But that's kind of how it is all the way through here. You know, there's these like really unique textures, really unique vocals kind of going on, even this stuff. And so beyond that, it's just like automation, you know, like little moments here and there to help things stand out, clearing some breath work right here like this. You know, when you get vocals like this, it just means it's really minimal. When you get productions like this, it just means it's really minimal. Like that's just how it is, you know? It actually makes my job easier in a way, and it's actually also more tough in some ways because you're like, how do I make this even better than it already is? So you have to like really critically listen a lot. Like you're not kind of starting from ground zero. You're starting at a place that's really great already, which is really cool. But it just means like, you know, your job is to enhance this. And so sometimes that's a little bit more pressure. This was mixed about a year ago. And so this was at the early stages of me doing this whole instrumental acapella, like limiting stuff. So I was messing with the Pro L2. And you can see here, it's kind of the same treatment that I would use with like the low latency thing that I currently use now. Like it's just like more level shaping, more glue. Same with this one. It's just, yeah, it's just like a little bit of volume control and stuff like that. And that was going into this that I was using for a long time for a final mix bus limiter. I don't use this a whole lot now anymore, if at all. But this is a really cool, it's the FGX2 from Slate on loud mode, just like a little bit of gain work. And then I didn't master this. This was mastered by a guy named Mike Cervantes, which is why you don't really see a whole lot of processing on the mix bus. Everything else on my end was just like extra glue, especially for songs like this. It's a little bit more that like 1975 eclectic kind of unique sound. I don't think you really need to go as hard as like a normal hip hop track and stuff like that. So the tools are different, you know what I mean? But anyways, all that said, this is Waves. Let's listen. Such a cool song. Man, what a privilege it was to mix this one. I'm so freaking happy that I got to do this. Genuinely one of my favorite albums I got to work on. But that's it. If you have any questions, please comment below. With that said, I'll see you next time.